Fuck. All right, we're rolling.
Rolling.
Planet P
Presents.
Cult and Culture Podcast.
Hey, this is Justin Pearson.
And this is Luke Hinshaw.
And this is episode 19 of the Cult and Culture Podcast. This episode features Karlos Paez of B-Side Players and Sonido de la Frontera.
Mais.
A San Diego legend. The dude everybody knows and loves that guy. So it was cool to finally fully be able to work with that guy since 31G got to release the Sonido de la Frontera album, which was an odd thing for 31G. And some people got it and other people will get it because you can't deny it's a badass record. And as soon as people hear it, there's just, you can't argue against it. So, and it was cool too that we got to do the Locust Sonido de la Frontera tour, short tour, I guess. It's a few shows, but it made so much sense to the Locust and to, I think, what is in the DNA of us San Diegans. You know, it just totally made sense to have those two bands together. And it was cool to challenge people that aren't necessarily used to that kind of thing or expecting to see a cumbia band and then the Locust. So it was rad. It was rad to hang out with them, and I think it brought me closer to him as far as his personality and knowing him as a friend. But seeing him perform was just is unbelievable every night. I mean, the guy just he's a natural, and he has the ability to engage with the audience, which is something that I wish I did.
And it was also great learning the history of B-Side, like the long history. Not many bands, if any here at all, can say, hey, we've been active for over 25 years and not just like, hey, we were active in the 90s and then we took a break for 5 years and then we came back and then reunited after this many years. Like, they've been fucking active for over 25 years, playing all the time.
And it's also, I mean, it was cool too, and not that it's that important, to maybe to the listener of this podcast, but like to me it was important that like my introduction was through punk and hardcore, and it was cool that kind of was a common thread and still is in that guy's life, and a lot of the stuff he does. It's rad to see that. I think, mutate into other realms of music and art and culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I guess without further ado,
no, let's just jock him some more.
Okay. So if we can, I want to start from the beginning, because my introduction to you as an artist was through it's a weird, maybe it's not that weird, maybe you can shed light on it, but it was through Sergio from Amenity.
Amenity, yeah.
So I mean, I grew up in the punk and hardcore scene, and I remember being a big fan of Amenity, and I knew he kind of did other stuff. But then everyone's like, oh, it's like Sergio's in this new band, B-Side Players. And I checked it out, and I was like, what the fuck is he doing, man? This is crazy. And then it was like, I mean, because also, too, we're from San Diego, so I think we have artistic diversity maybe in our DNA.
Yeah.
So it was acceptable. Maybe like in some other city it might have been like not acceptable. But for me, I was like, okay, so Sergio's in this band. I'm gonna check it out, and I'm digging it, and then that's it. That's all it took.
Well, as far as like Sergio Hernandez, that was the genesis of B-Side Players. B-Side Players was like was created by Sergio and I, and Sergio approached me, and I was in the music scene doing some more like alternative, like Jane's Addiction style kind of music, and we were just doing little cafes and playing Tijuana bars during the whole Amenity when Amenity transformed into House of Suffering. So it was kind of like the last days of Sergio's like hardcore scene. I don't know what happened, but he just kind of had a revelation where he just wanted to play dance music, but Chicano based dance music, and that was how him and I came together, because we had the thing. My background is from like my dad's musical background, which is like Los Moonlights, which is a Tijuana band that was pretty big in the 60s and 70s. And I think Sergio knew about like my upbringing and he knew that I wanted to start a like a Chicano Latin band, like a big band with horns. So that's how we came together, and that was our mutual kind of our mutual agreement. Like, let's start a Chicano Latin band from Chula Vista that incorporates a big sound with horns, and we were both record collecting at the time, so we were listening to a lot of the East Coast salsa, like the Fania All Stars, and Willie Bobo, all the old Latin artists from the '60s. And not only that, but we were also inspired by the West Coast Latin, which was like El Chicano, Carlos Santana, Malo, Tierra, all that music. That's how me and Sergio were like, let's start a project around this kind of vibe. And I'm well, it has to be big. The band's going to be big. So
instantly
we started bringing people in, and so we just brought.
Wait, do you mean big, like physically big, or like big popularity big?
No. We were thinking of a big band. Like, let's start a big band, like a 10-piece. Like we want the Rhodes. We want the horn section. So I'm like, So I was in charge of recruiting a horn section, and we were both in charge of getting like people rhythm and everything. So we started recruiting people, but we were really limited, and we just started kind of scouting. And at that time, it was like the early '90s, so there was a whole renaissance of the acid jazz movement from Europe that hit LA, and it was coming down to San Diego, and we were really like, we like this acid jazz thing because it's exactly what we want to do with the Latin thing, but it's a little bit more funky, jam based, like long songs and a lot of solos, like instrumental. So that's when we started recruiting our musicians. We were just jamming instrumentals, like long 13-minute songs where everybody solos, and it's like, all right, this is the. So we were Sergio and I started hanging out and going to see bands, and start getting inspired, and one of the bands that really blew us up was a band called Section 8 from Los Angeles, which a lot of people don't know about, but Section 8 was like a 8-piece funk band. Really cool name, because Section 8, I grew up Section 8, that means like low income apartments and all that. So I'm like, man, that's badass. The band's called Section 8, and they were just straight funk instrumental. But later on, we found out those guys were like the nephews of Parliament, like the grandchildren, which later on became weapons of choice. All these bands that we were going to go get inspired by. The Soul Sonics from LA. The Soul Sonics was a band that would come to Ole Madrid Tuesday nights. That was like where me and Sergio would go see live music, and I wasn't even 21 yet, but we would get in. And the Ole Madrid, which is Mauricio, who opened up the restaurant in Little Italy that became like a
where we played for Halloween.
What's it called? Well, Mauricio, he's a big this guy's been doing restaurants, and he's been in the game for so long, and he built like a Tuesday night, like a world music kind of vibe at Ole Madrid on 5th Avenue in downtown. So the way to get in underage was I would go early and order dinner, and then stay at my dinner table, and then the band would come, and I would sneak into to see the bands, because he was bringing in like the Brand New Heavies, which me and Sergio had in common as like a band that we really loved, and that's like the more funk, the European funk stuff. Also Jamiroquai was like a big influence of ours. So we saw like this band called the Soul Sonics, which was a band that was started by Jump with Joey, I think, a drummer from the old school ska days of Los Angeles, but he was doing a more acid jazz kind of vibe. So we were like, we like this acid jazz thing. So at that time, we got our shit together. We recruited some players, but we couldn't find a drummer. So we got like drummers from like from the Chula Vista scene that were like, you know, Sergio had all the musicians from the straight edge scene.
Yeah.
Like, so our first drummer was Joshua from, I think a band called Statement. Do you remember Statement?
Yeah.
Joshua was like,
Whoa.
so that was our first B-side drummer.
Whoa.
But we were just like, and he played hard, you know, this drummer played hard. And we were like, just groove it. Josh, just groove it. And he grooved it.
He was also a bass player in Force Down? Maybe?
Yes, Force Down, which goes, which is, like, there's so much, B-side has so much to do with like the straight edge scene from Chula Vista. Because I grew up, you know, these were all house parties back in the days. Like there were big house parties, but a minute he got out there, because that's like a scene where, you know, a national scene where it just spread, like the straight edge scene. And Chula Vista was like one of those towns that was known for a lot of straight edge bands, you know, Impel, a lot of great bands that if you know about straight edge music, you know about Chula Vista and the scene. And so, yeah, like I knew who Sergio was. He was already established in that scene, but at that time he wanted to do something different. He wanted to start making people dance, you know, like, and groove, and I understood that. And so we were on the same page. So like our musicians were like mixed ex-punk rock musicians. From Joshua came Joaquin from Chicken Farm. Chicken Farm was more like a more little hardcore punk rock band from down south, from Otay. They were just more grimier, like you know. Once Joaquin joined the band, that was it. Like that was our drummer. Like this was because now we had a real Latin drummer that knew about Latin music and about doing different rhythm times, you know, 6/8, and not just playing a funky beat, but he was just schooled in like different rhythms.
So
and
no white folks.
So no, we didn't have no white folks at the time, not yet.
So
and
you sold out at some point though.
Yeah, we sold out at one time. So now we got the rhythm section, and then of course like all our drummers were like ex-punk rockers from the Kids.
Yeah, you had Vic.
Vic was from the Kids. All these straight edgers and punk rockers wanted to fucking play. They wanted to go back to like their parents' record collection that they ignored for so long and stayed away from, because they're like, nah, that's mom and dad's shit. I'm a punk rocker. I'm gonna do my shit. But it was in the back. That's their catalog that they grew up with. That's mom vacuuming in the morning, like to Carlos Santana or to like
with a cocktail,
you know, Ray Barretto or Malo. It's all in the back of your head. Like you can run away from it, but eventually you can, you know, they were tired of the scene, of the punk rock scene, the San Diego scene, which was, it's a hard, San Diego was that town that, you know, we had such good music, and they were always saying, oh, San Diego's going to blow up. Yeah. It's going to blow up. It's the next Seattle. It's this and that. And, you know.
That was very specific to like,
that style,
Rock from the Crypt and John Reese's world.
Yes,
it kind of excluded everybody else.
It excluded everyone else. Yes, and those guys paid their dues forever, and they're hardcore. To me, they're hardcore. They pay their dues, but they were ready to do something different. Which that's how they brought me in, because they knew that at that time I was like, oh, I want to do something like my dad. You know, I want to do like I want to do a cumbia thing, because my dad hits were cumbia. He did 16 records, but the hits that he's remembered by were the cumbia songs. And so I already knew about cumbia way back before all this. And I was like, okay, so let's do this. So then after we got our little band together, and you know,
the little 9-piece band?
A little 9-piece band. And we were sharing a studio in the National City Studios with P.O.D. P.O.D. at the time, they were my friends, and they were just getting their shit together, early 90s. And so we started sharing a studio to share the rent, because it was a little pricey. And so we were this big old band of all all brown kids. We were still young, and we were just drinking 40s and, you know, smoking blunts. And this was like the early 90s, like that was blunts and 40s era, you know. So we were like, all right, P.O.D.'s coming, like, let's wrap it up. And P.O.D. would come in, and we would leave all this fucking mess. And they were like, dude, what's up, bro? Like, we don't drink, and you guys are leaving all this alcohol stuff. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, that's not gonna happen again. Like, all right, let's fucking keep this a respectful thing. And so I totally remember those days where, like,
they're like, we're gonna pay you back by leaving Bibles.
no, but the thing was, like, my memory of P.O.D. was Marcos, the guitarist, him telling me, he's all, bro, I'm gonna be a rock star, dude. Like, we're gonna fucking be big, homie. Like, I know you don't see it, but we are. But can I borrow $1 for a burrito? I'm like, yeah, fucking $1, dude. And then he would go to the next guy. Can I borrow $1 for a burrito? And Marcos, dude, was always like, he was the chubby guy in the band. Like, he wanted a burrito. And look where P.O.D. fucking sold. I think they sold over 50 million records, whatever.
All the fucking panhandling for dollars.
Yeah.
Paid off.
So
Should go get your $1 back.
B-side started getting their shit together, and then boom, here we go. We started playing live around town, and back then the music scene was Ole Madrid, which was like, oh man, we got to do Ole Madrid because that's the music we're listening to. Like, I got to see Guru at Ole Madrid. Like, Guru was the rapper back in the days. Like, Jazzmatazz.
Yeah.
Jazzmatazz was like mixing the live music.
It was like Grey Boy All Stars.
Yeah, so now we're in Ole Madrid, playing Ole Madrid, and then the green what's it called? The green circle bar opens up.
Oh yeah.
And then Grey Boy All Stars are residential, and they ask us, do you guys want a residency there? So we start doing like an off night Thursday or something, and then it just blows up. And that's based around the whole acid jazz kind of days. Steve Cater, all the DJs were Nigel from the UK was coming down and spinning like all jazz and funk, and those were probably the best days of my life because that was just good music.
So free.
And you know, Carl Denson was playing with Grey Boy All Stars, and then Lenny Kravitz was like, let's go, Carl Denson. So then Harold Todd came and replaced him. Harold Todd was like a flute player, a saxophone player. And then when Lenny Kravitz stopped touring, Carl Denson would come back to the Grey Boy All Stars, and I was like, Harold Todd, what's up? Let's go on the road. So we got B-side players. Finally, we got gigs. We got a booking agent. So now we're doing West Coast, and so we took Harold Todd on the road. So now we have like an established soloist, and then it was just unstoppable. But at that time, the LA scene was, of course, and that whole music was big. It was just instrumental, funk, and soul. But we were like the only band that was mixing the Latin thing. Like, this was before Ozomatli, before all that.
Yeah.
Like, B-side players, like, we were just a little ahead of the time with the Latin thing. So we were doing the acid jazz, funk groove, but with Latin, which means the Latin would include like the percussion, like the percussion was like timbal, congas, and drums. And then we would go into these crazy drum breaks that was just like, you know, because a lot of us were taking these African drumming classes at Southwestern College, and so we were all into the Afro beat and the African rhythms, like the traditional rhythms. So we were already incorporating that into the Latin music, into the groove and the funk. So it was like sounding like definitely a world music thing that we were, and we had that punk rock edge because of what we had. So we were like, it just was a new sound. And in LA it blew up. So now we're in LA, and Black Eyed Peas are opening up for us. Now we're doing residencies in LA, and it's just like a whole different vibe. But we never liked the LA vibe. We just didn't feel it. Like, to us, it just was like a talent show. Like, people were like you guys sound like this and that. Like they never gave us like respect as far as like, hey, you know, they would always like compare us to someone else, and we're like, nah, man, we're B-side. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
But that's like an industry thing.
It's an industry thing, yeah. And we knew, and then from all the people that were hitting us up in LA, you need to do this and that, and we did. We did everything they told us to do. Go do this television show and go do this radio show, and we did all that. And we were just over it, so we were just like, let's fucking just skip LA and go straight to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And we went to the Bay Area, dude, and it was over. Like, we're like, this is our fucking second home, dude. The Mission District is like, to me, it's like Barrio Logan back in the days. And we just did the Elbow Room. We just murdered it there. We were selling out the Elbow Room. We were doing Friday and Saturdays, and we were making more money because we were controlling the door, which they don't let these places. None of these places let you do that no more. Control the door, and you get all the money, the door money. And we were just murdering it. We established our own ticket price, and every time we went up, we added a couple bucks to our ticket price until we were making so much money and selling out both nights. And now San Francisco is like, we got San Francisco. Let's go to San Jose. Let's go fucking control San Jose. And then, all right, let's start going up. Let's start going up the coast. And we just started doing all the hippie towns, Chico and the Humboldt. And then we just started doing California for like 5 years, like B-side, boom, boom, murdering it. And then from there, we were having a good time. All of us, like we were all young and making music. And, you know, we recorded a little record, our first CD, and we were just touring and just doing good, doing the California thing, you know. We did some big festivals, and it wasn't until we booked, we got all these booking agents were trying to, you know, we got this 10-piece Latin band from San Diego. All these booking agents were like, let's go. Like, what's up? Like, we have meetings with these booking agents, and we're like, this one guy, his name was Tom Windish. He just was like, you guys need to sign with me. Like, I got you now. As soon as you sign, like, we're doing the East Coast thing. And we signed with Tom Windish. And if you look up Tom Windish now, he's like an empire. Like, this dude is one of the best booking agents in like the world. This guy, like, back then he was just getting started, but now he's an empire. Everybody knows Tom Windish. So once Tom Windish took over, we were just U.S. coast to coast for like, and it never stopped. From that, like 10 years went by. B-side was just traveling nonstop, you know.
And with a 10-piece band though, how would you travel?
That was crazy. We were doing the van thing with the trailer, and
with 10 people.
We were always like a 9-piece, you know, no less than 9-piece. At that time, everybody, I was brainwashed, and I would brainwash others. Like, hey, this is our budget. We're going to make $500 a week, everyone, but we're going to be traveling, and we're going to be going everywhere. And like, everybody was down, and we would come home with no money because all your expenses, you know, your food, and I mean, the band would pay for hotels and all that. And that's the thing with B-side. Like, we were never squatters. We never really were like let's go sleep at some homie's house. Like, we were never that. We were always like, let's get some hotels. Like, we deserve it. We've been working hard. So we always were a hotel band, and that was a big expense, of course. So we never really came home with any money. But we were, at this point, we were just doing like 180 shows a year, dude. Like, ridiculous. Like, it turned to.
So what about like when you would play outside of, you know, like you said, playing like in the Mission District and stuff like that, but when you'd start hitting up like Chico, where it's like all these like white college students and shit.
So at that point, Chico was the #1 party school in the nation.
Yeah.
In the nation. Like, Playboy put this article up, like the #1 party schools, and Chico was #1. So we didn't know that. So when we go to Chico, it's just like crazy. It's like, it's just like a festival, but it's just a regular night, and people are going off. So we're like, okay, let's keep coming back to Chico, and we just kept coming back. So we started getting all these little towns that these little markets and these towns that we really were good at, because like you have to understand, like a band like us, we had no radio play, we had no record sales. So all our the way that back then there was no social media, there was nothing. Like we would travel off a map, and the best way to make money was like return to these places where like you're making money, you know. And the club owners are like, dude, we don't know what the hell happened tonight, but you guys play Latin music and you make everyone dance. And we sold out of all our tequila and all our Mexican beer, and that's never happened before.
Wow.
And later on, I would talk to people like at the Belly Up, like Solana Beach, a place that we're familiar with, San Diego musicians. That's like a really nice part of town, Sonido, Solana Beach. And I started having a relationship with the bartenders. They were like, man, I love when you play here. And I was like, really? You love our music? He's like, I love your music, but when you play here, I make so much money, you know? Like, I'm a bartender here. I bartended here for 15 years. And when you come play here, like, we sell out of all the tequila, and that's what it comes to. It comes to like business. Like you have to understand, like a reggae band is gonna play, but like people are they'll drink 1 beer, 2 beers at the most, and they're gonna go smoke weed outside, and they'll order water. Salsa music is dance music. They want to dance
the whole time.
They'll drink water all night. They're not a drinking crowd. It's a dancing crowd. Underage shows, there's no alcohol. So a band like us, wherever we went, these bar owners, it was all business. It was like the numbers. It's all about numbers. It's not about numbers of how many people are in there. It's about alcohol sales. Alcohol sales is another number that the band never knows about. They're not going to tell us how much they made at the bar.
Yeah.
Unless you build a relationship with the bartenders and you find out these things. And I was like, oh my God, like really? Like you guys made that much money on alcohol? So that's why we're like, to this day, like we play like Moe's Alley, like a bar where like they sell out of alcohol, because it's the music we play, it's party music. When you mix genres of music like mariachi, cumbia, reggae, funk, it's just like a party vibe. It's a party dance vibe. And it's like, I'm going to dance, and then I'm going to go get a drink. Yeah. I'm going to dance. I'm going to get another drink. And I'm going to buy my friends drinks. And it's a drinking kind of, we've always been a drinking party band, you know? And I think that has a lot to do with the big band also. Seeing the big band thing, it's just like this like energy, you know? And you're watching 9 musicians on stage moving and playing. And you get loose.
Yeah,
it's a loose thing.
Yeah.
So that going back to Sergio being from a straight edge scene to now, you're like in a party band and you're playing to drunk people every night. You know what I mean?
I mean, Sergio was probably playing to a lot of drunk punks.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
I was drunk at the straight edge shows.
Yeah.
So I didn't care.
I heard about you
like
guys.
More beer for me.
But you are the only original member on B-side, right?
I'm the only original member, but I think that has to do with the lifestyle that we created, which is the touring lifestyle. And people just started falling out. It's just the band we never made money. We never came up with money, like to this day. So I think that's why people were like, dude, this is a cult. Like, I got to get out of the cult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's fun. I'm having a great time. I love playing B-side, but like, I need to get my shit together.
But that happens too. Like, even in punk bands, it's like, well, you know, at the end of the day, it's not that I came home with a lot of money. I came home with life experiences.
Exactly.
And that's kind of more valuable.
And I'm not saying what I'm talking about is like the guys that devoted their life to B-side. It's like decades. It's not like they were in there for 3 years and I'm out. Like decades. Like people that are in the band stay for like 10 years and then I'm out. Or 5 to 8 years, because you're gonna go travel. That's the thing. I promise you're gonna travel, and you're gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna go coast to coast, and maybe sometimes we'll get to go to Mexico, and you know.
It's different though too, traveling, because even on tour, like you go somewhere, like people are always saying like, oh, you're so lucky you get to travel, and yes, I am lucky, but it's different because when I go on tour, it's like most of my day is at the venue or the night or whatever,
Yeah.
and I have a couple hours, but at the same time, you end up creating friendships, and you end up seeing things differently than if you were there as a tourist.
For sure.
You see the other side of it. You see the real
Yeah.
side of things, and that is really valuable.
It is. Like, and it's the small towns that I really fell in love with, that I still go visit to this day. Like, I don't know what it is with Idaho. They really loved. I think it has to do with like 10-piece Latin band from San Diego, like a little flyer, and it's like, it's something that like it's appealing to them. Like, what the? I gotta go check this out.
If I was in Idaho and I saw that, I'd be
You know
like,
what I mean?
What the fuck is that?
And so that's how that Colorado, like the Rockies, we just murdered it because the people were just like intrigued by that. Like, oh, 9-piece band from San Diego, Latin band. And that's it.
Yeah.
And there wasn't no social media back then. There was no way to blow up the show. It was just like a flyer, you know, or like, yeah, at the club or word of mouth. Come check. And that's how I would come, you know. I would see the bands that would come to San Diego too, the same way. It was different times, but definitely like people were intrigued by the whole Latin band from San Diego, and they were just like, oh man, this is awesome. It was a party.
But it's the weird thing is like just that little introduction, like how do we get this? Because kind of like how like I knew Sergio was in B-side, and I was like, I gotta check this out. But then when we did those shows together, The Locust and Sonido, people, it's like, what is this? And then they see it and they're like, oh shit, I get it.
Yeah.
Like this is the jam, you know. It just, they need that little connection or little piece of information.
Yeah, for sure. And then like the Sonido thing is just became something where we were all like, let's record and let's do a recording project. To like, got to open up for the Locust, and I really like this. I think we should pursue the traveling thing. And now, of course, during these COVID times, like it's hard to book anything. But you know, for sure, if we weren't in these circumstances, like this is a band that would, like the Sonido project would be touring like,
Oh yeah,
nationally or international right now, because.
Well, what about the 9 or 10-piece band to a 3-piece band? That's got to be like a mind fuck for you, right?
No, it's not. Yeah, it is. It's super easier, and it's like the thing with the big band is like everyone's, you know, separates in little parts. Like you get 3 people going over there and 3 people going over there, and then it's like, all right. And so the band is always kind of like doing separate things. It's not united. But with a small band, I really love it because we're just all together at all times.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I guess I meant like on stage.
on stage, oh yeah, the dynamics are way different. With the big band, for me, I'm like the person that's like, I'm all, hey, let's work on our dance steps. Let's be more united. And that's kind of hard because it's a bunch of dudes, you know. But I've always been my dad's band was always like a visual band, because they dressed in like the same suits, like the 70s leisure suits. They would have every color every night. It was such a pleasant like sight to just to see. The band was like amazing because they were just all unified, and they were just it was just synced up to where like they look good together. And I've always wanted B-side to be like that, but it was so hard to do. Like, we never had the budget to have like different suits tailored to us every night. So I always let everyone, gave the freedom to dress what they wanted to dress, but at the same time that affected us too, because to me, like, it's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted to see. Like, so you have some people dressed like shit, and you have a guy dressed nice.
Yeah,
that's already bad.
Yeah.
It's already bad visual. So I was always really like unsatisfied with that. So one time I made everyone like, I'm gonna fuck this. So I got fucking guayaberas. I'm all, this is cheap. So I bought everyone the same guayaberas. I'm gonna wear black pants, wear black shoes. So now we're all dressed alike, and so now we look like a bunch of fucking waiters, and people are like ordering drinks from us. And I'm like, fuck, dude. So when I went to when I was on tour with the Locusts and they're all fucking dressed alike, I'm all, that's fucking that's badass. It's a vibe, and I've always loved that, like the 70s bands, like the bands that would always, dress in fucking the same suits. That shit's another level, dude. Like a whole nother visual, another level, and it just like, you look good together, you play good together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's definitely a unity.
Yeah.
You see that live on stage.
Or like looking like a gang or something. You're like, okay, there's a couple hundred people here, and there's 5 people that look like they're super fucked. That's got to be a band, and you're like, that's the jam. Like,
and then also like, coming from like the punk rock musicians and straight edge, those guys are, they had a style like back then. Like when you look at the videos and the pictures of them, they had a style.
Yeah,
like
they could get away with.
They had a really simple style.
Downplaying it. Yeah.
It was kind of like.
But what's the most iconic punk band is like the Ramones, and they all fucking looked sick together.
Exactly.
But I remember growing up
leather
thinking,
jackets.
Yeah,
like
but they all had like denim jeans, and
Converse.
like they all had a thing. But like I would look at bands like The Damned, which I love that band. And I'd always trip out on Dave Vanian looks like fucking vampire, and the rest of them look like punkers. And I'm like, what? That's just weird. Like, why don't they all look like vampires? Like, that would have been so badass. But I think even with the Locusts and stuff too, like subconsciously we gravitated towards looking like something because we grew up like really some of us being fans of like the later Beatles or even the earlier Beatles, but or even in the punk world, like this band Nation of Ulysses, like they rolled up all in suits and shit, and like they looked different, and that was really important. It was a statement upon itself because you wanted to stand out.
For sure. And that like going back to the acid jazz scene when we started, that was like when you talk about jazz, like the way they would dress, they would dress, you back in the days, like any jazz musician, you had to look good, you know what I mean? That was part of your gig. But it wasn't like everybody knew you got a jazz gig, you look good, you know what I mean?
You never could like roll up in like shorts and
flip-flops. Never. So that goes back to B-side when the white guy came into the band.
Say his name.
So Joaquin, this kid came from Otay, from Chicken Farm, and his thing was his brother Tizoc. When Tizoc got his shit together and was like, okay, I want to play music again, Joaquin left B-side to be with his brother, which was like, I had no problems with it. Family first, like, go be with your brother. Your brother needs you, and that's when Agua Dulce, they formed. Agua Dulce was just a band like so similar to B-side, like to this day people compare us like, oh,
all the
you
time.
guys are the same. But so we lost our drummer, and that was like hard because he's irreplaceable. Like how are we gonna find a drummer that can play, Afro-beat, funk, reggae, soul, like and know all the different rhythms of like clave and salsa and like merengue, and like how are we gonna find someone? So of course, we had some players in the San Diego State, the jazz band, the A band or whatever, and somebody referred us to this white kid. His name is Ryan Moran, and this kid was like schooled in like African drumming, and he was like one of those kids that would just practice to the metronome, like he was just like pocket. And we brought him in, and the kid was badass, and he pretty much did what I thought no one else could do, was play all those rhythms and everything. Like he did what Joaquin did and everything. I'm like, oh man, okay. So we did our first show at the Belly Up with him, and he fucking rolled up in fucking Birkenstocks and tie-dye. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, and I didn't say anything, but I just go, it was like that. What was that video of Perry Farrell when he's on stage and someone throws a Birkenstock at him?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, not only are, you're a fucking asshole for throwing that, but your fucking whole sense of style is fucking whack.
That's great.
Whatever.
Yeah,
He said
yeah.
something like that. I was like, oh, man, whatever. But he's behind the drum set, so I'm like, fuck it. Let him do his thing, dude. He's a fucking drummer. And so he just murdered it. And he fucking toured with us for 7 years.
Did
And,
you have to talk with him though? About
no, I never did. I let him do his thing. Eventually, he just started feeling out of the circle and started dressing like us, And at that time, I was wearing cowboy boots. I didn't give a fuck. So there was no way he was gonna dress like me. So everyone was doing their own thing, and it was like the jam band era. It was like the late '90s where we were just doing hippie towns and doing like 15-minute songs, and hippies were just going off, dude. This was like 2 years of my life.
What would you do as a vocalist when that happened?
I was playing the trumpet,
Oh,
and we would go into these long songs, and that was cool about B-side is we could cater to the hippies. And this was like pre like Fish and Galactic, like when these bands we were touring with these bands and they weren't big yet. Now these bands are huge.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like Fish, Galactic, and so
I can't
Fish.
wrap my
I
head
know.
around that stuff.
and
man.
and it was like, I love you guys. Your energy is so rad. Can I hug you every night?
Yeah.
Your energy. Give me another hug.
They're trying to steal that Chicano
I loved
power
it.
from you.
I loved it. No, I loved it because it was peace and love. Like peace and love, I'm all about that. I lived that lifestyle and it was great. The drugs were great. The drugs were clean. Everyone had a good time. It was a good time. But so we were doing that, and next thing you know, Slightly Stoopid offers us. They were a 3-piece band from Ocean Beach, and these guys were like, we're back home, and they're like, I want to take you on the road, and we're gonna do this fucking the Rockies, like cold, like Vail, Breckenridge, like all the ski towns. Well, let's go. And we want B-side to open up. I'm like, you want a fucking 9-piece band to open up for a 3-piece band? Like, are you sure you want this? They're like, yeah, we don't give a fuck. Like, we're killing it. Like, we do what we want. We're like, let's go.
Whoa.
So then we fucking do this tour, and now we're like drinking vodka Red Bulls every night, and it's like the whole fucking, it's like the the snowboarder vibe, like the whole different, like it's like a whole different world. You know what I mean? The X Game vibe. And at that time, Slightly Stoopid was mixing punk rock with reggae, and there were more punk rock on the punk rock level, but their version of punk rock, which was like whatever.
Pop.
It's not what you're punk rock. It's like
Pussy punk.
yeah. Well, whatever. So we finish the tour. We get home, and like I get home, and then Raimo, the drummer, Ryan's like, so I'm leaving the band. I'm done. They were just like during the whole tour, they were like talking about we're gonna take you away from B-side, and we're gonna promise we got this. How much money does he pay you? We're gonna pay you this. Cool. And not only did they take him away, but they were trying to take our percussionist away. So now when you see Slightly Stoopid live, they're a 9-piece band.
Yeah.
They're not
They are?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the horn section. They have the percussion.
So they wanted what we had.
Oh yeah.
So from that tour, there were never a 3-piece band ever again. They had they had a 3-piece horns. So now they were like, we want this sound.
I have to admit, on principle alone, I never listened to that band just because the name in itself is actually really stupid.
Yeah.
Not slightly, but very.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
So I didn't have a problem with it because I'm on, dude, I never thought that I could replace Joaquin, but I'll find another drummer. And I did. I found another. So I never had a problem with the whole, whatever, go do your thing. Like, congratulations. And Ryan to this day plays Slightly Stoopid.
Wow.
But the thing that bothers me the most, and this is the whole thing, is he hit a level, in a nice level, and like which I I wish upon every musician where like you're comfortable, you're making money, like you have ability to buy a house and support your family off music. That's amazing. Like I've been doing that all my life. You know, I don't know. There's not a lot of musicians that can do that. That's like a blessing. You know what I mean? Where you could buy a house off music. And he reached that level. And I'm all, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. But he reached the level also where he was like on Drummer Magazine, and he was like, he hit the fame. Like, you know what I mean? So I would be like, oh man, Raimo's big time. Yeah. So I would go read his articles, and he's like, so how did you meet with Slightly Stupid? So I came to study in San Diego State, and I met Slightly Stupid, and boom, we hit it off, and now we're touring the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, he forgot a little bit about the 7 years he was with us. Okay, let me check this other article up. Maybe he mentioned us in this other article. So what's up with, how did you come to Horses from the Bay Area with the Slightly Stupid from San Diego? How did you join the band? Well, like came to study in San Diego, and then I joined Slightly Stupid, and boom, it was off from there. Now we're traveling the world. I'm like, this fool forgot about like his whole B-side 7 years that he did with B-side players. How we traveled, and like, you know, he played different rhythms and everything. Like we schooled this guy. We got him under our wings and his Birkenstocks, and we took him on the world. And like, he became a touring musician. Never mentioned us. Like he was ashamed. Whoa. Wow. Ashamed to be in our band, dude. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, my musical career, I mentioned everything, all the shitty bands I played with, all the bands. Like, I mentioned that because that's your career. That's how you got to where you're at. Yeah. And you can't exclude that, your history, you know? Yeah. Especially 7 years, 2 years of like who you've played with to get where you're at. You can't erase that. Like, that's part of your.
Totally.
So to this day, dude, he will not mention that he played with us, and it's like he wants to exclude that part. He wants to. I fucking studied at San Diego State, and I joined Slightly Stupid, and I hit the big time. That's his story.
He missed the only thing that has street cred.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
He doesn't want the street cred though. He doesn't want it because he would explain like, I was the only white boy in that band, and yeah, they fucking talk shit to me, and they fucking. But dude, he was part of our band. Like we would stay with his parents and Marin. We're in the Bay Area. We'd have dinners. I took him to meet my family in Sinaloa. My family, my grandfather who died, met him, and fucking pictures. Like he knows everyone in my family. My kid fucking has known him since he was born. Like, he's part of my family. Yeah. And he fucking...
You don't talk to him anymore?
Nah, dude. That fucking hurt me really bad. Because it's like, dude, I'm proud of you, bro. Like, you're fucking big time. But throw a bone out. Throw a bone. Like, don't forget about where you come from, you know? Yeah. And that's the thing, man. Like, Ozo Motley, man. I love Ozo Motley. And they're, like, the homies. And we started, you know, B-side started a little earlier than they did. And when they came out, they were like, dude, Karlos, we want to come to San Diego. Let's do this, dude. We fucking played P.O.Ds together, and I got on fucking shows. But when you're in LA, opportunities are just there, you know what I mean? Like, especially if you're a hot band that's coming up. And Carlos Santana scooped them up, and they went on the road. And when I started calling them to return those favors, they just never answered my calls. They were just... And I was like, all right, it's like that. But that's why, like, I never liked LA. That's why I skipped LA. Because I knew it was like that. Yeah. I knew it was people like, they want something from you. But when it comes, you know what I'm saying? Like, and San Diego's not like that. And the Bay Area is not like that. And
with the exception of that band from OB.
But so...
Which band? Slightly Stupid? Yeah. Well, that's a weird thing, too, though. Because what about, like, San Diego music always has such a diverse mix of stuff. Because people probably were tripping out on B-side or even like Sonido, like what is this? You know, and you're like, but it doesn't matter. It's just good, right? It's just good music. Just don't worry about it. Like if B-side was taking all those influences from, you were saying like salsa and cumbia, you know, Afro-beats, and,
Yeah.
like, all these different elements of music. Why do people need to find a terminology for it? Like, just let it be good.
Yeah, and back then there was no scene, there was no genre to exploit that kind of music, so there was no way we were going to be on the radio. Plus,
And it was Spanish.
we were
right?
recording songs in half. Our records were half Spanish, half English, so bilingual, and that was a no. And not only that, but our songs were like 13 minutes long, and that was like, okay, so you're not gonna be on the radio, and we're not. But we weren't trying to be on the radio. We were already like, let's make people dance, you know what I mean, and let's just groove. And we just we stuck to that forever. So we were always a touring band, and we never relied on radio. We never.
Yeah.
The radios invited us to come, but it was always like some, you know, college town shit, underground radio, like world music type shit, and they were just like cool. And we never intended to be on. That was never our purpose. Our purpose was like to play. And,
but still, like, what bands that are like 13-minute jam songs are huge? Well, maybe Mars Volta. That was a weird thing too. It's like, how does that become such a huge? But they were already big from at
they
the
were already
drive-in,
big,
so,
yeah.
I
But
mean, I set it up.
that's like, I don't know, but that's also like, I think all of us were all fans of Mars Volta and their musicians. Like, we've always loved that kind of music. And when it blows up, and when they blew up, it's like, oh, this is dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they deserve it.
But like but watching B-side play, I can see this is no disrespect to anyone, but when I watch B-side play, I could see like a traditional sort of music type of music. When I would go see Mars Volta, I'm like, what in the fuck are these guys doing? Like, everyone's soloing. Like, I should be on drugs, but I'm not. Like, how does this major, you know, label shit or like mainstream stuff where like normal fucking people are digging this? And, you know, that was the thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't seem accessible. Where like I think B-side should have been huge, like totally accessible musically.
Yeah, I think it's just also like the timing too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as far as like now,
the lottery.
when you
Who
listen
wins the
to
lottery,
commercial
right?
radio, now you hear Spanish songs, and now it's a thing where. But back then they were like, dude, do not. If you're gonna make a record, like English or Spanish, don't mix the both. Like, that's like, we can't help you with that. And it was
So
like,
weird.
what do you mean help us? What? Like, what do you mean? Well, we can't help you like put it in a genre where we can categorize it and sell it. And it's like, it's difficult for us. And I'm like, okay, well, fuck, dude, I'm bilingual. I'm fucking, you know, like. With this project with Sonido, I don't have a choice because Luke is like fucking militant. He's like, no English songs. I'm like, fuck, dude, really?
I just can't hear it.
So I can't. He won't let me sing a song in English, and that's fine. But that's like, it's in the reverse. If you're gonna tell me no Spanish songs, I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah,
you
of
know
course.
what I mean?
Yeah. But what about that? Like, any kind of Spanish music, whatever like style, it all becomes Latin music by industry standards. Like, it could be anything, you know. Like, I don't know, and fucking even like Los Crudos or whatever. All the, you know, like all their songs were in Spanish. Like, they were never categorized as like a Latin band. They were just a hardcore band.
Yeah, and it's just fucking crazy to me. Like, now, like, hipsters go in the Barrio Logan and they're like, do you have any solitarios? Do you have any bookies? Diablos? Do you have Los Moonlights? And I'm like, those records are like $100. And they're like, yeah. Do you have any? And I'm like, fuck, dude, really? Like now, like that anything that's old 60s, 70s, like Spanish music, like that genre is like, the hipsters are now, they know about it. Everything came back, dude. Like the lowrider music, the Chicano music, the old garage psychedelic bands from you know, Mexico that were just laughed, like they laughed at them, like, this sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Those records are like $500 to $1,000, like they're rare.
But what about, like, do you think this is probably a weird question to answer, but do you think you're like B-side and Sonido and all everything you do has also benefited from that?
No, I think later in the future it's gonna be like that. Like, do you have a B-side fucking,
Yeah, $500.
like it's gonna be like that.
Yeah.
Like, and my dad, it happened the same thing. My dad never, of course he lived when they were at their prime, they were just killing it, flying everywhere and staying nice hotels and doing nice gigs, but he never fucking hit the money jackpot.
Mm-hmm.
He was just part of a band. So now when I'm my dad, your records are fucking worth like $100 to $300, and he's like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
And how did that happen? They're not rare. Like, they're RCA. There's fucking made a million of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, they're just hard to find because the people that played your records, all of them played them, like grinded them to the fucking didn't play no more.
Yeah.
So they're like, you know what I mean?
I remember one time somebody tried to diss me or joke. They're like, haha, I saw your record at the swap meet. And I was like, fuck yeah. Because that meant the distributor picked it up, sold it to a record shop, somebody bought it, and now somebody's selling it. It was nothing about like the music being shitty.
Yeah.
It was just like it's been handed down. I was like, I felt fucking great. Like that it was being sold at the swap meet where I get my fucking records.
Which record was
like,
it? Do you remember?
It was the very first break album that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, this is where I came from, was from the fucking swap meet. And then to be back, I was like, dude, there's no, like, I never took that bad, And then now I see them on, like, Discogs and all that shit for way more than what we were selling them for. So I'm like, fuck yeah.
But I wonder, like, maybe some of the punk roots or whatever, like where we all came from, like it never. I mean, yeah, it's like it's really nice to get paid, and that's great. But we never really set out to do it to make money. We did it because we wanted to make art, and that was the most important thing. It was when you're setting, and it's also just me. Like, I don't know the people in fucking Slightly Stoopid or whatever, but like someone probably thinks like we got to do this because this will make money. It's like, no, you should have just did it or by yourself on your own, like from your heart, not from your wallet.
Yeah, searching for what would make money.
What's going to be the next
Or,
thing?
I mean, like the same thing. Their fucking Project B-side tour where they were just juicing you guys to fucking finally become that. They're like, oh, this is what's fucking doing it. And they
I think it's just that we inspired them to like, all right, like, do we want to be a 3-piece band or do you want to take our shit to another level? But they will never give us credit for that. Never, and not only do they take my musicians and change their whole like identity, but like not even like hey, why don't you fucking, now that we're headlining the Red Rocks or headlining Petco Park, come fucking open up for us, homie. We love you.
Oh yeah.
Like, but I don't even care about that. I just care about the history, like the written history. Like, dude, mention that you fucking were in B-side players, dude.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I want. Credit.
Yeah.
Mention that you fucking, before you were in this band, you were in this band. Like, so that people understand, like,
the history.
And the, you know what I mean? Don't be ashamed of that shit.
But maybe it's on his character, I mean, I played with this guy in my first band, Struggle, and he ended up becoming one of the main dudes in like Blackheart Procession and stuff. And he was rad. We were in high school together. He played in Struggle, and we were a terrible, crust punk metal band, whatever. But he's embarrassed of it, and it's like, well, we were fucking 16 years old, dude. Like, just who cares? But I think maybe, and I don't know, his name's Toby. I don't know him that well anymore, but I do think, I wonder if he just is not necessarily embarrassed, but just maybe just sad where he's at or unhappy where he's at. Like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I did. I was in a really bad band when I was 16, 15 or whatever. Like, and I had fun and I had to do that band to get to the next thing. Yeah. I don't know. Not that like, I mean, fuck. Going back to the B-side thing with Slightly Stoopid.
And to me, like, really, like, all I have is like my San Diego. Like, San Diego, I'm really proud of. Like, I represent San Diego wherever I go. Like, that's my shit. I'm from San Diego, wherever I'm at.
But he's not from San Diego.
No, he's not from San Diego.
That's
and that's another thing too. But like, that's the thing that I have in me, where like wherever I go, like I'm on, what kind of music you like, you know, like wherever I'm at, and they're like, oh, you're from San Diego? Like, oh, dude, yeah, I know about San Diego. Like, you know, I fucking love the album Leaf. I'm like, oh, you like the album Leaf? Oh, I fucking played trumpet on Tristeza records. Like, what? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I have that. And like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I like P.O.D. Well, fuck, you know, P.O.D., me and Marcos grew up together, and Marcos, I got him his first job when, you know, right before they hit it big, and me and Wolvie are home. Like, what? There's a connection, you know what I mean? Like, you know, now, like, oh, the Locusts. Oh, fucking, I play with the Locusts, you know? It's like something that when I'm on the road, dude, like, that's my fucking root, the San Diego.
Yeah.
That's what combines, like, all this shit. So that's why I get offended when, like, you fucking don't pay like, you forget about your history.
But you got the guy from San Diego State. It's not like you found him at the Che, or, you know, you didn't find him in Barrio Logan. Like, you found him at one of the lamest places in the city. Like, it wasn't somewhere fucking cool and culturally relevant.
But the A bands was pretty big. Like Prince. Prince is the trumpet player from the A band, the same band where Raimo was from. It's like the jazz.
Yeah.
There's a A B band, the jazz band. That was a.
But I'm not okay. So I mean, but I'm talking about like on a moral, ethical issue. He was lacking that San Diego DNA.
Yeah. So a lot of musicians, you know, from state, they become working musicians. Like, you're not studying, you know, jazz to become you're studying jazz to be a professional live performance musician. So Prince, one of the trumpet players there, he ended up being the piano player for Black Eyed Peas. Who he was sickest trumpet player, one of the best trumpet players I ever heard. Don't even play the trumpet no more. He plays keys for Black Eyed Peas. It's just like it's like a thing. Like you graduate. It's like being a musician for Berkeley. You know what I mean? It opens doors for you. But as far as San Diego State, like, it's not really like credible in that. Like in New York, you're not gonna be. I'm from the A band from San Diego State.
Yeah.
Like New York, like the way, like, for example, I got a good story. The Greyboy All Stars, and when I said when fucking Carl Denson would go on the road with Lenny Kravitz, so it was like the open door, like, who's gonna fucking play saxophone? So it's like, oh, Harold Todd. So now Harold Todd fucking goes to Europe, and now there's who's gonna play saxophone, and this fucking cat Chimmy, who's been fucking practicing the saxophone, like, now here's your opportunity. Boom. He fucking jumps on it. So Chimmy, dude, like, I remember being at his first show with the Great Ball. He's all nervous because, dude, you're fucking soloing like every song. And it's a fucking gig, you know? And he fucking killed it. Like, dude, congratulations, Chimmy. Like, that was badass, and built his confidence. And Chimmy was always like the backup musician for every gig. Oh, someone bailed out. Called Chimmy. Well, Chimmy went to New York, dude, and Chimmy fucking paid his dues in New York. In New York, it's a way harder fucking vibe, dude. Like, the jam sessions, you can't just go fucking play. You have to kill it. And he fucking fell into the community there, and he fucking got into the Daptones. And the Daptones is pretty much like, you know. So now Chimmy has his own records, dude, like on Daptone, and he's established and fucking paid his dues, dude, but he did it on his own, you know, and it's respected. And he's fucking off from San Diego.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah. But maybe it's like that, you know, like the dude from Chicken Farm, like, he didn't get to go to, you know, San Diego State or Berkeley. He just had to do the thing, and he did it, and he I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, he did it from nothing, and that says so much more. I think that's more important. That seems like fucking San Diego to me.
Yeah.
And it's also a reason, like why, like, San Diego never became the big thing, like what they were predicting back in the, remember, oh, San Diego's gonna be the next fucking this and that, like the music scene. It never became that, because I think fucking, like, when opportunities come, people bail out. Like, this is kind of like a fucking recruiting zone or something for LA.
But also, they're like, it's gonna be the next of this other thing, and you're like, no, we're our own thing here.
Yeah, we're our own thing. But it's also like when doors are open, like, people are out. Like, like they're just like, I'm out. You know what I mean? I'm leaving San Diego.
Well, that movie, It's Gonna Blow, that came out. Did you see that?
Oh yeah,
it's pretty good.
Bertie's on there. Wasn't
Whoa.
it the drive-in and down south and
No.
no?
Oh no,
It's Gonna Blow.
okay.
Is like,
That's another movie.
It's like a documentary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's a trip because they talk about that, like how we were gonna be San Diego's gonna be the next big Seattle. If you watch the documentary, it doesn't really dive into it, but then there was all that shit like Crash Worship and all the Gravity Record stuff. Like there was all the weirdo shit that was happening here Seattle never had that. I mean, they had cool shit, but like
those are some of the best shows, B-side and Crash Worship. And that
That's
reminds
some
when,
shit
when
right
Locust when Locust invited us to go on the road with them. That was like, dude, that's like Crash Worship asking B-side to open up. Like, what is this? Is this like an experiment? Is this a joke? What is this like? I was like, because I've seen Crash Worship. Like, why do they want us to open up? Like,
how did that go?
Do they want to fucking like do they want to do a culture shock? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
I was confused, but then I was like, when we started doing the shows with them, I'm all, I fucking get it, dude. I get it. Yeah. And it is a culture shock.
Where'd you play with Crash Worship? Like what venues?
San Diego gigs, like Casbah and shit like that. But we did some other some outdoor little festival events.
Because that shit was like a circus, you know?
Yeah, it was a circus.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why I'm a fan of Gogo Bordello, bands like that, like gypsy fucking crazy shit where it's like, what the fuck? It's like there's some polka and some fucking Russian and some crazy shit in here. So I love that. I love the world circus shit. And that was like a band that was like, dude, this is fucking badass, like let's get our shit together, our live show together, you know what I mean? Those kind of bands, like they influence you and that's another band that people don't mention anymore. You know what I mean? That was a big thing.
Crash Worship.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's legendary. Stuff.
Oh.
But yeah, it's been definitely like a roller coaster as far as the musical influence, man. I feel like for me, I'm always being influenced. Like to this day, like I'm always open minded and like traveling with you, that really influenced my ass a lot. Like I was like, oh man, like these fools are the tightest band I've seen in a long time. Like I haven't seen such tightness like that since like Mike Clark, the Headhunters, Herbie Hancock. The original Herbie Hancock's band. Like I'm all the breaks and like this is jazz funk, but so tight. It's like they know they've been playing with each other for so long, and the breaks so crispy. And I'm on the Locust is one of the tightest bands I ever seen live.
But that's a good thank you. But also like I mean Herbie Hancock, that's like a huge influence on me growing up. Like that stuff's all that shit seeps in. Where I think a lot of people don't they're not open to that.
But
that's
it's just like the breaks, everything. I was like, oh man, this is so clean. It was really good it was meant to be. I'm so glad that I got the chance to like, be with you guys, and watch you guys play like different shows. Cause it's just like, there's a reason why I'm here right now. Like musically, I'm all, this is okay. And it just put me in a whole thing of like, all right, I'm going back to rehearsing again, like, because we stopped rehearsing, like, B-Side stopped rehearsing, like, 10 years ago. We just don't rehearse anymore.
But I think, like, to me, too, working with Luke and then discovering Sonido and stuff was an awesome, obviously it was awesome in its own, but then when he would, I mean, I think when we started talking about, like, letting 31G put out the record, I was like, this is probably not the right idea, but like I want to do this. It makes sense to me, and that shit was like, I don't know, that was an honor in itself. It's like really, it's honorable to have the band on the label for so many reasons, musically, but also just culturally and also personally. Like that shit's what it's all about.
Cult and Culture is a Ruinous Media podcast, proudly sponsored by Earthquaker Devices, Heartwork Coffee, Fender, and Diodario.
Planet B.